Good morning. My name is David Theus, and welcome to yet another episode. I think it's episode number 5 of the Saturday morning coaching call brought to you by the Small Business Patriot. And by the way, if you're watching us on YouTube today, please like and share with a friend. And I guess you're supposed to say ring the bell so that you can get new editions that come out each week. And then also, if you're listening to us on Spotify, thank you for doing so, and share and like us as well, if you are so inclined. So as you may have watched before or listened or tuned in before, this is a Saturday morning event. These individuals, these ladies, again, I'm the only guy in the room. Not the smartest guy, definitely, but not the only guy either. Oh, excuse me, I am the only guy. But we are basically on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. So these professionals are taking time out of their weekend to get together and learn, not just from me, but from each other. The cool thing about what we're doing here is a chance for me to listen to their needs and concerns and weigh in with some solutions, hopefully. And also, what I think is the biggest benefit, these ladies are professionals, and they've been in their line of work for a period of time. That's probably quite expertise at what they do. And so they bring solutions to the table as a peer advisory. And I think that's probably the biggest benefit to being a part of this group and what we're doing on Saturday morning. So without further ado, what we want to do is go around the room and have each one of us to have a chance to introduce themselves and just tell us briefly what the name of their company is and what they do. And with that, we'll start with Peggy Lynch, if that's okay with you.
Good morning, everyone. Peggy Lynch with 21K Promotions. I work with any size business, club, organization, and even individuals on building brand recognition. And I do that incorporating promotional products.
Very good. Carrie Farmer, how about you?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Carrie Farmer, and I'm with Farmers Heating and Cooling Solutions. We are a small local HVAC company that provides residential and commercial HVAC needs. So solutions to any problems with your heating and air conditioning. That's us.
The longest time I couldn't figure out what the V was in HVAC, but heating, ventilation, and air conditioning.
Yep.
How about that?
Yes, yes.
Katina Phillips, how about you?
Good morning. I am with Florida Funding Source. We are a company designed to help small businesses with funding needs. A lot of times banks don't pay perfect attention to the smaller business, and so we are here to help them from the time they recognize they have a borrowing need all the way to the closing table, filling out all the paperwork, explaining the process along the way, finding a lender with an appetite for their particular request, and then even reviewing their term sheet and helping them negotiate the final offer to make sure they're not paying any unnecessary fees and that they're getting the best deal for their situation.
Wow. So you really are in their corner, the business owner's corner, to help them through the process. Pretty cool.
Absolutely. Our only priority is the borrower. We're not the lender, so we can really navigate the process and make sure that we take good care of them.
Okay. Love it. I like the mixture we've got. We got the front office marketing. We got the people keeping them cool in the back office, especially in Florida. And we've got someone out there helping them find the funding and walk them through the steps. Pretty cool. All right. So the format, again, as what we've done in the past, Peggy, you're like my right arm person in this organization, but basically it's about the attendees bringing questions or concerns to the table. I get to listen, weigh in, let the other folks weigh in first. And if I've got some comment that I think I need to add, I'll do so. So that first moment of who wants to go first, but does anyone have a concern or need that we want to bring up and open it for discussion? Carrie, you want to go first?
Yeah, I have a couple questions, but one, with it being tax season, and this is our first kind of year dealing with that. We do have a CPA who's helping us, but I was wondering if there was any other like tax advice or tips you have for small businesses that maybe, we haven't thought about or the other local businesses haven't thought about.
Okay. I have a great answer, but I'm gonna let the other ladies weigh in if they want to first.
That is so far out of my realm of familiarity, so I'm gonna let that one go.
Katina, do you want to weigh in or with any thoughts or no?
Well, I'm going to weigh in, but my thought is probably the same as yours. Um, as a banker, we were always taught to never offer any tax advice. And if you are working with a qualified CPA, they are really going to be your best friend. Just make sure that the CPA that you are working with knows your business and knows your habits so that they can provide you with the best guidance.
So as a 15-year veteran of the financial services industry, I am not a CPA, nor am I an attorney. So thank you, Katina, for picking up on that. My grin, maybe, or at least you knowing the deal. So I will tell you this, and I'm sincerely, I'm not a CPA, and so I would never give you tax advice. And I recommend that.
Correct. And I'm just mean like in general.
I understand, but I feel like in my compliant world, I need to get that out in the open. That still resonates with me. There are a few things that I know I'm aware of. Back in the day when I was a furniture rep for 13 years or so, the tax code was different about how we entertain, for example, and some of those elements. The key thing I would say is keep good records. Have a system, whether it's the old-fashioned spreadsheet or, don't get 5 or 6 shoe boxes. If it's the only record system you got, keep good shoe boxes that are going to stay dry and out of the wet and out of the damp. But keep good records and get with a CPA that's probably got like a QuickBooks that they can help you get ramped up on. And they've usually got staff members on staff that are better at QuickBooks than probably the managing CPA is, and their staff will teach you how to do that. And the best thing you can do is put a systematic approach in place that allows for record keeping, a system for record keeping, because it's not always about running off the audit, although I'll talk about that in just a second. With every good record keeping comes the best opportunity for the CPA to navigate your system and afford you the best opportunity for a positive tax result. Positive meaning a good one versus me paying more. So my biggest tip of the day from a layman, so to speak, that is not a CPA nor an attorney, is to keep good records and be diligent about it. Put a systematic approach for that. How's that, Katina?
Yeah, no, and actually I'm going to piggyback on that because most of the time in your first year, whenever you are filing your tax returns and even into the second and third, your CPA has a lot of tactics to help you legally reduce your tax liability. But an important thing to know, if you anticipate having a borrowing need during the next year or the year after that, it's important to have that conversation with your CPA also, because a lender is going to want to see not that you are really creative when it comes to taxes, but that you are actually generating enough revenue to pay them back. So when you file your taxes, it is important to have that conversation with your CPA if you anticipate a borrowing need in the next couple of years.
Gotcha. And that's kind of like what I was like looking for, just general things, because there's so much, that's going on. We have a great CPA. She's been very helpful. And, I've been definitely the documenting and keeping records has been a huge benefit for us because I am a little over the top with that kind of thing. But thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to just expand one more element because I like to do that. In the insurance world, especially life, long-term care, disability, all that sort of what we call the protection side of the business, I was always an advocate for my clients to know their medical records. And so don't ever be afraid. I would say to them, look, when you're in the doctor's office, first of all, keep your mouth shut. Don't ever deny yourself care that you deserve. If you're injured or sick, you got to tell your doctor about it. But be careful what you say, but at the same time, know your records. Know what the doctor's putting in your records, and be aware and educated on that. Be a part of the system. And so how do I translate to what you're talking about? I'm by no means am I telling you to hide stuff or be fraudulent in activity, but know your stuff. I understand what you're looking for. You're looking for some maybe quick tips or something like that to just to ease the system. But the better students we are of our business, every penny. I mean, it's laborious and it's work, but that's what's going to help you pay off down the road. Because when you do need something, like Katina says, you'll have the resources and available to pull back from, and the system will be in place. The sooner you can start that, it's like you'll appreciate this, Carrie. Every student starts off as an A student the first of the year. And when you get yourself in that hole, it's harder to get out with the grades. So continue being a 4.0 student with your money, taxes. Okay, that was actually a very good question, even though I don't have any more to say. Okay, who else?
Well, I've got something, but if, Katina, do you have anything before I jump in?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Well, this question is somewhat twofold. One is elevator pitch. Okay. Question there is, does anybody have like magic words to use in an elevator pitch on a cold call for phone or walk-in cold call, that type of a thing? The second question ties into that because I want to ask David to share his fabulous follow-up system that he told me about. So there you go.
Ladies, anyone?
Do you use the same elevator pitch on everything you do and repeatedly, each time you make phone calls or go in person, or do you change it out?
To be honest, I mean, in hours, I haven't really gotten an elevator pitch yet. That is like kind of like where we're headed. We've been able to kind of just revolve on people calling us and their needs. But I know like when we talk to people or when we meet people, we just kind of introduce ourselves and go into what we do and what we can do for them. We ask them what, their needs are first, and then we follow up and kind of base off of that. But I'm kind of like with you on this one. I'm going to listen in and take some notes and tips on that.
Yeah, and I would say that, I mean, I've been in sales for 30 years, so my guess is I do say pretty similar things. I know whenever I am cold calling a prospect to try and schedule an appointment, I'm always careful not to offer a product or make a real pitch. I usually approach it from the perspective of, I'm Katina Phillips. I help small business owners with their borrowing needs, but I also like to connect small businesses with other small business owners. I would love to spend some time learning about your business so that when I come across someone who needs your service, I know you well enough to put my name on you. Do you have some time for us to get together? I think most small business owners are looking for that kind of connection and genuine, referring. And so that's pretty much always been my approach, and always really careful in that initial call to really hold back and not be a salesperson, because I never want to come across disingenuous, like I tricked you into meeting with me and now here's my PowerPoint presentation. So, I mean, that's my approach, but I'm also a very soft sell kind of a girl. And then for elevator pitch, I took a class many, many years ago and learned that your title isn't nearly as important as what you actually do. So when I was a business banker, I wouldn't say to someone, I'm a business banker. I would say, I help small businesses with. So those are my tips.
Nice. Very nice.
Good stuff.
Mhm.
See, I'm not the smartest one in the room. Okay. Well, you guys know me. I think this will ring true. I'm totally against the quote unquote elevator pitch. And a lot of what Katina just said from a salesy approach. I just believe I've always, let me back up. Some time ago, I learned that it's a lot better to do business with people that I would not necessarily call my best friend, but I used to have a slogan, I get paid to make new friends. That sounds kind of commercial at some point, but the reality is I would rather work with someone that I don't mind being around. And so as a consumer, when someone comes to me and starts with the quote unquote elevator pitch, suddenly my jade flag goes up and says, okay, I'm not interested. And so I just simply introduce myself. Hi, my name is David Theus. I may say, I'm in the insurance or investment business, or I'm a business coach. I help small businesses be more productive and more profitable. But the real thing that I picked up sometime, in fact, I wrote an article about being different. And I don't like this guy, Clark Howard. I can't stand his voice on the radio, but I do listen to him. I used to listen to him quite a bit. Remember him? He's the consumer advocate. I think he was out of Atlanta. And he had a phrase that just hit me in the gut. And his opening comment was, and when he was on the radio talking to people, he'd say, hey, Katina, welcome to the call. How may I serve you? That's what he would say. And you can't defend that. Hi, I'm Carrie Farmer with Farmers Heating and Cooling Solutions. It's pretty simple. We help people keep cool, and we keep, when it's hot and hot when it's cool. How can I serve you? How can I help you? And suddenly you're not selling anymore, and the guard comes down from the guy or gal, and you're like, whoa, I got a lot of stuff maybe you can help me with. And I started doing this years ago, where I would even go into, I see my role as your servant. That'll put some people on their backs. So in that light, how can I serve you? In this capacity, in the realm of heating and cooling, how can I serve you? And once you do that, what happens next is a conversation. And so there's that angle. And if I'm on the phone, or I'll do this a lot of time in emails, if you're doing email marketing or following up, I would say, look, all I'm asking for is a chance to start a conversation. That's it. I'm not going to try to sell you something. Do you mind if we start a conversation? Hell no, I don't want to do that. Most of the time it's okay. And then the next question should be, what's your problem? What do you need? I had a mentor, Kevin Lickman. This guy was meant to be a telemarketer. I mean, if that tells you anything. But early on, I used to do the brain dump. I'd get on the phone. We were a financial publishing company out of Maitland, Florida. And I would call people like the president of Morningstar, Barclays Mutual Fund, Mr. Barkley I talked to, all kinds of crazy people that are now pretty infamous. And so I would always call and say, this is the great stuff we can do for you. And he kept yelling across the room, ask the question, stupid. Ask questions so you can know how to serve them. And so he actually fashioned a sign on a piece of poster board over my desk, right where I could kind of see it. It said, ask the question, stupid. And so I incorporated that. I started saying, what's keeping you awake at night? That's a famous financial one. What's your biggest fear when the air conditioning unit goes out? Is it August when it goes out? I mean, are you worried about damages to your home with mold or something? I don't know. But incorporate, what are you worried about? Is it response time? Ask the question. That's what I don't like the elevator speech. Never been a big fan of it. All right. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Katina, you want to go around?
I think that you saying what's keeping you up at night really did prompt a question. I was really just kind of tuning in to see how this process worked. But I think that the question that is really in the back of my mind constantly, now that I have left my nice cushy corporate job to, launch my own thing, I have had a big corporate engine behind me for 30 years. I have never had to think about marketing. Someone else always did that. They, ran the commercials and took care of the everything. So as a small business owner with a good network of people who know me locally, but looking to kind of expand and make sure I stay relevant, what advice can I get in that realm?
Peggy, you want to You take a stab at it, or?
You go ahead, Dave.
Okay. Okay. So when you leave corporate, and corporate typically has gobs of money to put marketing together, and you've seen all the marketing pieces, the brochures and the signage on the buildings, and the sometimes commercials on TV or the internet, wherever they're running commercials these days. And so there's always this messaging that's going on subconsciously or consciously out there for the general public to see who they are and what they do. And so as a small business person, that's really what you're going to have to do. The problem, or the challenge, I should say, is you don't have the budget to blanket the universe with your messaging. It's you. You're it. And so I say this oftentimes when we gather in our meetings. I feel like a broken record because I keep saying the same things over and over and over and over again. Well, you're going to have to put the scratch in the vinyl and become a broken record. And just as you do all the time, Katina, and you're very good at it. You did it with your corporate gig. You need to incorporate that same messaging that you do for yourself. Now, it would be nice if we could leverage it to greater numbers, critical mass. That would be a beautiful thing, and that's what you're probably asking me about. So, before I answer this question, it's 9:29 real time for me, so we're not quite 30 minutes in the episode yet. But is there anyone else have a question that you would like to add in before I go? I'd like to pick up something and maybe close out with. Are you ready for me to close out? This is a good segue for something I kind of pre-showed us with. So, Katina, to answer your question, moving from a corporate, strength of having marketing budgets and all the things that, collateral materials and that sort of thing. Now you're a small business, one-person shop. How do you spread the word? Especially in today's world that we see small businesses under attack. Not if you will, we are under attack. So there's a whole movement to put us out of business. I won't get too far into that. There may be another episode. And then you've got competitive nature of now you're competing. In a sense, you're competing with corporate, although they're not doing exactly what you're doing, but they have people that are trying to facilitate what you do. How do we do it? So I think the important message for us as small business owners, we have got to join ranks with other like-minded people, just like we're doing this morning. The fact that the four of us are sitting here together is a testimony that we believe that we're stronger together than we are by ourselves. And so I challenge each one of us to continue to build what we called in the old days strategic alliances. And strategic alliances aren't people that you go to a typical quote unquote networking group and you look around the room of 50, 60 people in the room and say, who's buying from me today? That's not the answer. It's very short term, very transactional. What we need to be saying is, who can I align with that I can help them be successful, and in turn they can help me be successful. So that person may never buy from you at all, but they may have some leverage capability. Remember, it's always easier to lift heavy objects with a lever versus it is to do it by yourself. And so you really got to keep building strategic alliances. And the only thing that you need to change, Katina, is now the lever is for you personally versus lifting for your organization you worked for before. Because I remember you saying, look, if I get the customer, that's great, I'll help them out. But if they still do business with us as an organization, it's a win for me. You would always like to take care of them yourselves, if I remember correctly. But now it's about getting Katina the business. And so my word for the day is strategic alliances. It's so important for us to invest in each other. I told my daughters this all the time when they were growing up. Friendships are investments. They take time, they take input, they take, unconditional love, so to speak. And you've got to invest in other people just as if you want to return for yourself. And so I challenge each one of us as small business owners in today's world, moving forward, we have got to align with like-minded people that have the same interest as we do, not just being profitable ourselves, but helping each other be more successful and more profitable and more better results. If we don't, we're going under. So I believe firmly that this regime that we're in now is trying to stamp the small business person out. Like I said, that's another episode, but I'm passionate about that, and I'm fearful. But if we stand together and fight, we can win. Does that help?
I think that was excellent advice, David. And I hesitated for a minute because I would probably be a little bit biased in my answer to Katina because of what I do. So I love the way that you phrased that.
Well, and Peggy, I actually thought it would be you that would weigh in and offer me some branding and marketing information. So that's really funny that you decided to, to not.
It's so broad. It's, I guess I don't have a short answer to, or a short response to your question, which is a lot of the reason that I did back away and let David grab it.
Well,
Go ahead.
One of the beautiful things about this particular group is that there are so many skilled people. I anticipate having a conversation with you outside of a call. So I'm grateful for the connections.
Well, let's just apply some metrics to it, and I'll try to wrap up with this. In the financial services business, anyone who's been in life insurance and investments, your first day on the job, they hand you a piece of paper and say, write down your 250 friends, family, and family members, their names and numbers. And so the theory is each one of us knows 250 people. Well, there's 4 of us in this room, so quick math, if I can do my ciphering, that's 1,000 people. 1,000 people right here in this room. So I'm not a big metrics guy from the standpoint of the metrics. I am a relationship guy. And so if we can hold ourselves up, I was saying this on Thursday's Zoom call that we do for our members, that the more we get to know each other, Cheryl Kennedy, for example, with Home Video Studio, Green Cove Springs, was sharing that she's doing this oral history where she goes out and records for family members, their parents or grandparents. And I know there's a movement for veterans of World War II, where there's an organization that does that as well. But I didn't know she did that. And I didn't know that was something that was important to her. So she gave me, this is how Dave's mind works, but maybe you can train yourself to do the same thing, whether you want to or not. But she gave me a tab on her filing folder that I didn't have before. And so now when I'm out speaking to someone and the conversation, I just did it with Peggy this morning. When the conversation comes up about her 99-year-old father, and I asked was he a veteran of World War II? Oh, by the way, Cheryl Kennedy is doing these oral history. So there's an opportunity where Peggy may want to reach out to Cheryl and say, listen, Dave says that you're doing this. My father meets the mark. I would love to investigate how this works. And so it comes down, the overriding principle is we have to be great listeners. I call it participatory listening. We have to tune out the world when someone's talking to us and dial it in and listen to them. And not just so we can gather information, but here's the magic sauce. When we do that, that person sees it. I know you've heard me say this before, and they understand this guy gets it. And that's where empathy comes in. And as soon as that happens, that transfer, emotional transfer between you and the other person, empathy happens. And guess what the next emotional transfer is? Trust. And when they see that you have empathy for them, they begin to trust you. It's a longer haul, I promise. The relationship building piece of it is much longer than it is for the transactional look. Just come do business with me. Bing, bang, boom, we're done. But it's so much more important to invest now, especially the times that we live in. It'll be those of us who have invested in our future that will still be standing when it's all over versus the ones that were transitory, famous word that we're using now, and they'll be dead and like chaff. So before I get into a sermonette, that's my philosophy about that answer. And it's scary. I know, because you had the mammoth budget behind you, and you really didn't have to worry about that because someone else was doing it. And now it's just one more thing on your plate. So it could be the thing that keeps you up at night, but you're skilled at this, Katina. You're very good at personable and you're very professional and easy to talk to, and you've got a great talent for that. So just keep building on that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think this is another great episode, if I don't say so myself.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, this is what Saturday morning coaching call looks like from the Small Business Patriot. Ladies, thank you so much for being a part of this. And thank you for the opportunity to serve you in this capacity. I mean that. Thank you very much. That gives me chills and makes me 10 feet tall when I get a chance to be a part of something like this. So until we meet again, have a great weekend. Oh, this is Happy President's Day. And have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.